What is up, everyone? This is KhUnlimited. Today is going to be the first episode of my new podcast, and I'm going to be calling it Spill the Tearal. I'll talk about the name more after. But this podcast is pretty much going to be a JRPG podcast where I'm going to be able to talk about JRPGs, what I'm playing, maybe some news that I'm interested in JRPG news, I guess, and stuff like that. So pretty much I just wanted a podcast kind of like my Kingdom Hearts podcast. I have a Kingdom Hearts podcast called Shotlock to Kingdom Hearts, which I'm doing on and off right now because there isn't really too much happening in the Kingdom Hearts world. And that's actually one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast, because doing a podcast just on Kingdom Hearts is pretty hard, especially when the series is kind of dead in terms of news. And I can make discussion videos on it all I want, but at some point I kind of want to talk about the games that I'm more interested in these days, which is just JRPGs in general. So that's what this podcast is going to be for. And in terms of how the format is, well, you'll see how this episode is, and that'll be the format. But I want to start with kind of like just general housekeeping stuff. Just talking about this podcast because it is the first episode. So yeah, this will be a JRPG podcast. I'm sure there will be some episodes where I kind of veer off to more Japanese general games because I play JRPGs mostly, but a lot of the games I do play are Japanese, but they may not necessarily be RPGs. So like, that's a thing that may happen. It is what it is. And in terms of how this podcast is going to be formatted in terms of like editing, if you've listened to the newer episodes of Shotlock to Kingdom Hearts, you might notice that it is actually edited a lot in terms of like talking, and I'm not going to be doing that with this podcast. And the main issue with that is that I was editing Shotlock to Kingdom Hearts at the pace of a video, which is not feasible to do long term at all. So I was pretty much like cutting after every sentence of mine, deleting all the dead space, so like it'd be a more condensed and digestible video for people to watch. And at the end of the day, it became more like a YouTube video and less like a podcast. And if I want to do this long term, that just won't be possible. So there's going to be little to no editing in this. I'm sure there will be cuts here and there if I'm just blanking on something, or if I need a break or something like that. But for the most part, all the empty spaces, all my dumb rambling will be kept, because that's kind of the point of a podcast. You usually keep that stuff in, and if there's just something I need to cut out, then I will cut that out. But that's how it's going to be. One part that I may edit tightly is usually when I did Shotlock to Kingdom Hearts, I recorded the entire podcast, and then I would put the segments out separately. And obviously, since the entire podcast was edited, those segments are already edited individually. I may edit those segments individually, all see, because those are supposed to be actually viewed as digestible videos. Like, some people may not even know they're from a podcast, so that's kind of the point of those. So maybe I'll edit those as they come out. I don't know, that's just something I want to mention in case that's something you're more interested in and you're not interested in this podcast. And also, you're probably watching the video version. If you're not, I am planning to have this as an audio only thing too on podcast services. I'm not sure if it'll be up at the time of this going up, but hopefully it'll be. If it is, you'll find the links in the description below in case you're interested in listening to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever it may be. So yeah, that's something I also want to mention too. Another thing I also want to mention is a piece of content that I've been doing on this channel. So if there's any updates to my channel, I can just do it in this podcast, because this will probably be my premiere KhUnlimited podcast for now. And that is the Let's Play series I'm doing. So I am currently doing a Final Fantasy VII Remake Let's Play series on my channel, kind of for the release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm looking forward to that game. I did play 7 Remake when it released, but I don't remember any of the story at all, because I don't know if I didn't pay attention when I played it, but like, if you've been watching the Let's Play series, you'll already know that like I literally don't remember shit about it. My memory is that bad. And so so far, as of recording this, there's 3 episodes out. Those are completely edited, so if you are looking for something more tight, even though those are long videos, I think episode 3 was like an hour. That is edited down. The actual footage for that episode was like 2 hours, but I edited it down to an hour because I cut out most of the dead stuff. It's kind of like light to medium edit. It's not like heavily edited, but like it's pretty good. So if you're interested in Final Fantasy VII at all and want something to maybe put on in the background or just enjoy, that is something you can do. And it is really fun so far. Low key, I want to finish a Let's Play on KhUnlimited, because I used to do a Ratchet a Crack in Time Let's Play. That wasn't ever finished. I used to do a Kingdom Hearts 2 Let's Play. That wasn't ever finished. So I kind of want to finish 7 Remake and just be able to see a completed Let's Play on my channel and just look at it, look at the playlist and be happy about it. So that's one of the goals of the Let's Play. So hopefully I'll be able to finish it, and hopefully at some point it might pick up and do better, because right now I know that my channel is not meant for Let's Play. So like, I know it's probably not performing at all. But I really don't care because I'm just doing that for my own satisfaction right now. And if it ever does like do good at some point in the middle of it, that'll be cool for me. So yeah, that's how the Let's Play is going and kind of how the content of my channel is doing. And the last thing before getting into the actual content of this podcast is I want to talk about the name. I'm pretty proud of the name of this podcast, and whether you get it or not is up to whether you know what it's about. But it's called Spill the Tearal, a JRPG podcast, and it's a mix of obviously the idiom spill the tea, where that means like, like, yo, tell me what's good, bro, give me the information. Like that's what spill the tea means, obviously. And Tearal, if you don't know, is it's a spell in my favorite game series, Trails. So Trails of Cold Steel, for example. If you want to connect it to Kingdom Hearts, if that's what you're more familiar with, obviously from my channel, the way there is Cure, Cura, and Curaga in the Trail series, there is Tear, Tira, and Tearal. And so it's referencing that. So spill the Tearal, it sounds like spill the tea, and it's just reference to JRPGs. So if you know JRPGs, you'll kind of get the reference. So that was the point, and it also has to do with spill the tea, which is meant for discussing. Like that's what that saying means. So I thought the name was genius. It took me like 4 days to come up with the name. I have like a document full of names. Most of them are complete garbage. So I was happy that I was able to come up with a name that kind of does make sense and reference to JRPG, which took a while. But yes, enough of that. Now let's actually get into the podcast. The first segment of the podcast is going to be what I'm playing. So I've started playing games regularly-ish again because I usually am playing games in waves where like I'll literally go months without playing games and I'm back on games. And right now I'm on the wave where I'm back on games. And so I want to talk about what I've been playing. Now, since this is the first episode, I can kind of talk about what I've been playing generally, but after this, I would hopefully be making an episode a week, so I'll just be talking about what I've been playing the last week. But in the last few weeks, the game series I've been playing the most is Yakuza. Yakuza is a game series I had barely played before. I tried Yakuza 0 here and there. I was never able to get into it that much. I remember like playing it for like 3-4 hours and kind of falling off. Then I remember I played it again like a year ago for like 15 hours. I got pretty far into it. Probably not 15 hours, probably like near 10 hours, and I kind of fell off because I was playing Yakuza the way I play other JRPGs. The way I play JRPGs I love, like the Trail series, is I do every single thing. So I talk to every single NPC, get every single piece of lore, do every single side quest, and while that works for games that like I know I already love, so that works with the Trail series, for Yakuza, that didn't work because like I barely care about this world right now. Why would I do that? So I was playing Yakuza 0. I was talking to whoever I could. I was doing every single side quest, and I just got bored because some of the side quests weren't good. Some of them were good, but like I wasn't progressing that much, so I fell off. And so I tried playing Yakuza Kiwami 1, which is a remake of 1. I already had it for free from PlayStation Plus, so I'm like, why not try it? Instantly, it was a much better hook. I heard one person recommending online that you should start with 1 anyways, even though a lot of people recommend to start with 0. I'm just saying don't do it. That guy was right. Do Kiwami 1. It makes more sense. That was the one originally released first anyways. You get hooked to the characters faster. The story is immediately a lot more interesting. So Kiwami 1 was really fun. And this may appeal to some of you. It may not. But one thing I didn't know about the Yakuza series is they're very short. At least the earlier games are. Because when I got into Yakuza, I'm like, okay, it's probably like a 50 to 80 hour JRPG. Especially because it's an older game. They can be longer in some ways. They might be padded. So I was expecting to do that. I finished Yakuza 1 in 15 hours. It was like super quick, and I was like really surprised. Like, whoa, it's already done. Like when I entered the final chapter and it said final chapter, I was like, I was hella surprised because I thought it would take a lot longer to finish. But I did maybe like a couple of side quests, and then I just was kind of beeline the story. And so if you're just beelining the story, that's what I did because I almost see Yakuza as kind of like a movie experience. It's really quick, and so like it was super nice. I super enjoyed the game. And kind of to talk a bit more about Yakuza Kiwami 2, I played that too. That exact same, it was even shorter than 1. I finished that like in 12-13 hours. And Kiwami 2 is a beautiful game. Like because the Kiwami games, if you don't know, are remakes of the original Yakuza 1, 2, which I believe are on the PlayStation 2. And Yakuza 1 I would equate to being like a PS3 level game in terms of fidelity, maybe late PS3. Yakuza Kiwami 2 was definitely like PS4 era. Lighting was a lot better. It just like you could go anywhere in the city like without loading times pretty much. You can go into any like building, house or whatever. It was a beautiful game, and they changed the combat decently from the first one. I can't say if I liked it more. I think I liked it more at first, but then by the end of the game I liked it less because there was less things I can do. It was just pretty much punching and kicking. Where in the first game you can like go into different modes. So combat in the first one I liked better, but Again, like the first one, I like the story, and to kind of end off my Yakuza conversation, I am currently playing Yakuza 3. Unfortunately, we're with Yakuza Kiwami 1 and 2, I was playing like pretty much daily. Pretty much what my routine was is in the morning I like walking after breakfast to kind of like burn some calories off, and I play Yakuza just on my PlayStation Portal. I don't like play on my TV or anything, and while I'm walking I can just play on my Portal and it's fine. And Yakuza Kiwami 1 I play like that, Kiwami 2 I play like that. Now with 3, the issue is 3 isn't a remake. It's pretty much just a port from the original version, which I think was on the PlayStation 2. And what I didn't know that the Kiwami games did is that they added so many quality of life things, and one of them was the saving. So in Kiwami 1 and 2, if I wanted to save, I can go to a phone booth in the game to save. I noticed that, but I was always confused because you could literally just save from the pause menu whenever you wanted. So like I never use a phone booth. Turns out saving from the pause menu is a remake feature, because in Yakuza 3 you have to go to a phone booth to save. And that is kind of a turnoff to me because, like I said, I play the game while I'm walking, and that game session could be 15 minutes, it could be 45 minutes, it could be an hour, it kind of depends per day. But the point is, when I'm done, I really have to save and put it away so I can, start my day's work. And because Yakuza 3, you can save whenever you want, you have to be not only like in the open world section of the city, but you have to physically go to a phone booth to save. I just don't know if I have the time for that. Maybe like if I have time to play games in the evening again where I can play games for hours, that'll fit. But when I'm playing in the morning during my walk, right before work, I literally cannot afford, like if I'm in the middle of a mission and I'm done walking and like I cannot save, I don't want Yakuza 3 to hold my PlayStation 5 hostage in case I want to play another game, especially because I'm doing the Final Fantasy Let's Play these days. So that's the reason I haven't played Yakuza 3 like for maybe 3-4 days, maybe even nearly a week at this point. So I do want to get back to it. I'm really enjoying the story. I really like that time is passing between the games too, so you're seeing certain characters get older too. I won't spoil anything about that, but so far Yakuza has definitely been the one that's been taking over my life the most. In terms of what else I've been playing, this goes without saying, it's Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm enjoying it so far. You can hear all my thoughts about it during the Let's Play that I'm doing. And yeah, it's just like, I'm really enjoying it. And it's funny that I'm actually getting stuff out of it that I didn't get the first time, things that I'm hearing that I didn't notice. A couple things I'll mention is, one thing I talked about in the Let's Play, which I'm just stupid because I didn't notice, is during that initial first mission where you blow up the reactor, one of the things that happens is it blows up way too much, and Jesse is kind of stressed out, like, yo, why did it blow up so big? Did I fuck up? Did I use too much plastic agent? But they literally show in the cutscene that it was Shinra that did it themselves. Like they made an order for the robots to blow it up. I did not notice that the first time I played, and that seems like a pretty relevant plot point. And the fact that I didn't notice that the first time I played, especially because I wasn't recording or anything, like I was literally just focused on the game, is very weird to me. So that's one thing I noticed. Another thing is there's a character named Chadley that gives side quests. In the first game, the first time I played, I literally did not do his quest because I didn't care really. But this time I talked to him. Even when I talked to him when I was playing, I didn't notice this. I only noticed this when editing. But apparently the reason he wants your help is because even though he's working for Shinra, he wants to take it down. I didn't know that. That's super dope that he's trying to take Shinra down from the inside. When I noticed that while I was editing, immediately when I recorded the next episode of the Let's Play, I went to him and did his portion of the side quest that I could, because I'm kind of interested in him as a character now. So I'm definitely getting a lot more out of the game this playthrough than I did the first time, and I'm only 3 episodes in. I'm probably 3, maybe 4 hours into the game, so still at the beginning. So we'll see how the Let's Play goes. But yeah, that's something else I've been playing, and I haven't really been playing anything else that I can remember. So that's what I've been playing. The Yakuza games. I'm on Yakuza 3. I played Kiwami 1 and 2 and Final Fantasy VII Remake. And if I have any more updates for the next episode of Spill the Tearal, then I will put it here. And if I don't have any updates, I'll probably just skip the segment because it's supposed to be naturally of what I'm playing, because there may be a week that I don't play. I literally haven't played, I think, since like 4 days ago. So like maybe I won't play it till the next episode. We'll see how it goes. But the point of this podcast is kind of feel out the segments. I kind of want them to be a bit more loosey-goosey, whereas Shotlocked was kind of more regimented with the podcast, with the segments. They had their own intros. I kind of don't want to do that because that kind of limited me in doing what I really wanted to sometimes. And so with this one, I'm going to keep it more loosey-goosey and kind of let the format of the podcast naturally be built over time as I do the episodes. So that's what I've been playing. Now, let's move to the next segment, and this is pretty much what game or what JRPG am I looking forward to in the near future. And so I have a list of games here, but I think what I'm going to be doing is just talking about one game, because if I talk about all these games, I might screw myself because I won't have anything to talk about in the next episode. So a game that I am going to choose is... This may be a cop-out answer, but I'll do it. I'll choose Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I won't talk too much about it because I kind of talked about Final Fantasy a lot, but I am obviously looking forward to this game. I wouldn't say I'm like extremely hyped about it because, again, I don't remember that much about remakes, so there's not really much for me to be hyped about. And also the way I kind of handle games is I don't watch trailers. I just don't like being spoiled about anything about a game. So for new IP, the only time I watch trailer is like the initial announcement trailer. Same with Rebirth. I watched like the initial trailer that came out. I haven't watched anything else. I've seen screenshots here and there of what they showed in the new trailers, and they literally, I think yesterday, had a state of play for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and so they've been showing more stuff about it. But like it is looking more exciting, and I'm sure the farther I get in 7 Remake, the more hyped I will be for this game. The only issue is I'm not sure if I'm going to play Rebirth immediately after Remake or if I'm going to play Crisis Core in between first, because I played Crisis Core on the PSP. I don't remember jack shit about that game, so like it might make more sense to play that first because I know Zach is in Rebirth, so we'll see how that goes. So 7 Rebirth, I'm definitely hyped for. In terms of like hype, if I had to give a number, probably 7 out of 10. That may not seem high to you, but that is pretty high, because like if it was middling, it'd be like 5 or 4. But I am pretty hyped for it, especially I've heard this from one podcast. I don't know if it's true, but 7 Remake is like, I want to say it's a short game. It's like an average game these days. It's like a 30-hour main story game, I believe, which I would say is like average. Like Spider-Man 2, I think, was like around that time too, which isn't a JRPG, but like, you know, that's like a mainstream game. I heard that 7 Rebirth, especially with all the side content, is supposed to be like 100+ hour game. I don't know if that's true. That'd blow my mind if it is, because while there are long as JRPGs, I feel like more modern and like high fidelity JRPGs, they usually don't go for the long length. They usually go for the shorter length. And so if like a game at the quality of 7 Remake, well at this point 7 Rebirth, is that long, that'd be pretty cool. And I think I may stay along to do the side quests and stuff too then. So we'll see how that goes. But definitely right now 7 Rebirth is a game that I am very much looking forward to, and when it comes out, we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure if I'll do a Let's Play on it. I know it kind of makes sense that I would do it because I'm doing the 7 Remake and it's called Road to Rebirth. I'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll record a first episode and see how it is, because I do usually like playing games like on my own time. Like if I play 7 Rebirth, it'll be on my PS Portal while I'm walking and shit. Like it won't be sit down playing on like my monitor like I do for 7 Remake right now, because I feel like that limits me too much. So I'll see how it goes, but 7 Rebirth I think will be a very fun game, and yeah, I feel like you guys should be hyped for it too, because in terms of JRPGs, this is definitely, not only do people think this will be the JRPG of the year, a lot of people already think it might be their game of the year, so it is definitely being hyped up. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that, and that's the game I'm looking forward to pretty soon. Now let's go to our next segment, which it'll roughly be me talking about not really not really JRPG news, but like JRPG news / trailers that have come out in the last week, which I'm interested in. So if there was a trailer or like a gameplay preview that came out, I'll talk about that. And again, since this is the first episode, not all of the stuff I'm going to be talking about is from the last week. And I was actually planning to record this episode a week ago, so some of it may be a bit out of date, but you know, stick with me, bear with me. But yeah, let's start talking about some of these things. One thing I want to get out of the way from this segment is some Dragon Ball stuff. There's been like a lot of Dragon Ball game-related things that have been coming out recently. One that I'll get out of the way really quick, which I don't want to talk about too much, is Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, I believe the game is called. They got a new DLC announced, which is pretty much a DLC that covers the end of Z of Dragon Ball Z. If you don't know, at the end of Dragon Ball Z, there's kind of like a time skip, and like it shows kind of everyone a lot older. Goku's in his blue gi that I feel like a lot of people love, and they're making a DLC to cover that portion of the game, which is dope. And honestly, I've been loving how they've been treating this game. I remember when Kakarot was first announced, and like it looked like pretty much a definitive version to play through DBZ. I was hoping they would just pretty much DLC out all the content. So like they would have a DLC for Future Trunks, and they do, and they would have a DLC for End of Z, and they're doing it. And I feel like they have the other DLC. I think they have a Bardock DLC. I'm not 100% sure if they have DLC for like super stuff. That'd be dope. Like I would love if they have a Battle of Gods and a Resurrection of F. They had like Universe 6 versus 7 tournament. If they had Tournament of Power DLC, if they just cover all of those things, that'd be cool. I'm not sure if they will 100%, because I believe the game is branded Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and if that's the case, technically that stuff is Dragon Ball Super, but I don't really know if they care about that or not. So hopefully they will cover those things, because again, Kakarot, I have it, I own it, and I own some of the DLCs. I played it for like about 10-15 hours and I fell off at some point. Not because the game was bad, because I kind of sucked at a fight and I couldn't beat it, because I am famously horrible at games. And so that is something I do want to get back to, but it was beautiful because it was unlike any other Dragon Ball game where like, usually Dragon Ball games are made with the focus of like PvP, or like you're supposed to be balanced with your opponent. Like whatever your opponent can do, you can do. That's kind of like how Dragon Ball Z games have always been. But Kakarot, I feel like, was the first in a while where like when you're fighting someone or you're fighting a boss, it felt like a boss. Like I think I was fighting Raditz and he started doing this cool ass move where you're shooting rays and he was spinning and stuff. And I'm like, I don't think that's a move that I would be able to do as a character. But as a boss fight, as a boss, you should be able to do like cool ass moves like that. And actually, for the first time ever for me playing a Dragon Ball game, it felt like I was fighting a boss. So I really enjoyed that. And that was only Raditz level. So imagine once you get to like Cell and once you get to Boo, I feel like those would be even more epic. And if you ever get to, I don't know if they have like Beerus or like Jiren one day or something, that'd be hella dope. So End of Z DLC is exciting because they're actually covering more of the game. And I know I kind of got away of talking about End of Z since that is an announcement, but like that kind of proves that they're trying to cover like every inch of Dragon Ball. So hopefully they'll keep expanding it and we'll see how they go into the future. But now that we're done with Kakarot, let's go into the real shit. I want to talk about the real shit, and that's Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Ooh, when they announced this game, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. If you guys don't know what Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is, it's there used to be a Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi series on the PlayStation 2. Budokai Tenkaichi 2 was my shit. Budokai Tenkaichi 3 was my shit. And this pretty much is a Budokai Tenkaichi 4. They just rebranded it to Sparking Zero because I believe the Sparking name was what they used in Japan. I don't know if that's true really, because Budokai Tenkaichi is a Japanese term, so I don't know why they would use like an English name in Japan and a Japanese name in the West. But apparently it was called Sparking in Japan, so they're rebranding it to Sparking Zero here. And so far the game looks fantastic. Like I love how it looks. I love like they're sticking to a stylized style, kind of like Kakarot. It looks like a lot like Kakarot, honestly, which I'm happy. I'm really happy they're stepping away from that Xenoverse style, which they've kind of been using in like all of the games. And so the fact that we're getting this more stylized style, and it's just really interesting. And like the main thing that I loved about Budokai Tenkaichi, and I feel like a lot of people love, is like you just have such a fucking huge cast of characters. Like you could have so many people you get to play as, and that was a positive, especially these days when you have fighting games. I feel like a lot of people like to focus on like, yeah, I just want a small roster of characters and they all play different. I don't give a fuck about that. In Tenkaichi 3, you had like, I don't know the exact number, but it felt like you had like 300 characters. And while they technically played the same, like you can like jump to any character and be fine, they had different animations, they had different supers, and like it just felt fun to play as people. Like you would play as Kid Buu and he'd be stupid fucking fast, and you'd play as like fucking an Uzaru and they'd be like hella slow. So they had things like that. The combat in it, I felt like was more advanced than what we get today. Like you were able to punch people directionally, like from the bottom or top, and I think it might have been left and right too. It was one of those. You go block in directions. You could do like combos that like felt like secrets that like they didn't really explain in the game. Like there was so much depth in the game, low key, that I hope they keep that exact DNA for Sparking Zero. So one of the things I was afraid of with Sparking Zero is like I hope they keep a huge roster. And based on the trailers, it seems like that's the focus they're going for. The trailers that we've gotten so far, they literally end with the roster screen and the roster filling up with what they showed in the trailer. And so they did that with this last trailer where they pretty much showed Goku going through every single transformation he has, and it showed it on the roster, which I thought was perfect. That's exactly what I want. There's a couple of worries I do have about the game. One worry is what the modern Dragon Ball games do, which I fucking hate, is that they make every transformation its own character. So like in Xenoverse, like Super Saiyan 1 will be a character. I think Super Saiyan 3 will be a character, for example. Super Saiyan God will be a character. Like instead of like you being able to just use Goku and transform, they're their own characters. And the best thing about Budokai Tenkaichi was like if you used Buu Saga Goku, you can go Super Saiyan 1, then you can go to 2, then you can go 3. Whatever made sense in the canon version of Goku, you were able to do that. If you use GT Goku, you can turn into Super Saiyan 4, like things like that. But at the end of the Budokai Tenkaichi 3, not Budokai Tenkaichi 3, at the end of the Sparking Zero trailer, even though it showed in the gameplay Goku transforming from base to like God, when they showed the roster, they put Super Saiyan God as its own character, and they put some of the Super Saiyans as their own characters. So I don't know what that's about. Hopefully they aren't their own characters, or if they are, like, hopefully they're just representing different versions of Goku. So maybe they're just using Super Saiyan 3 to represent the Buu version of Goku, and they're using Super Saiyan God to represent the Battle of Z Goku. That would make sense, I guess, for visual disparity. But like, I hope it's not like Xenoverse, where like if I'm using God Goku, I'm just God Goku. Like, if I press God Goku, I want him to be base, and then I have to transform into God, or like go from 1 to 2 to 3 to God. Like, doing that in Budokai Tenkaichi was always the coolest feeling. So hopefully they stick with that for Sparking Zero. And another worry I have, this isn't a real worry, it's just something I noticed in the trailer, is the environment to me looked kind of lacking. In Budokai Tenkaichi 3, it's not like the environments were like amazing fidelity wise because it was a PS2 game, but it was pretty fun going through the environment. Everything was destructible, all the buildings were, all the hills were, you could go underwater, it was cool. But the actual fidelity of this game's environment looks PS2 adjacent. Like it looked kind of empty. Now I don't want it to be full or anything. I just hope that it does look a bit better graphically, because usually what you see in games these days is the characters can look lacking, but the environment looks beautiful. This game is kind of the opposite, which is weird. But again, I literally have zero worries about this because this is just a trailer. Things will change, and I'm sure the environment is not a focus for them right now. Like, why would it be? Like, focus on the characters, focus on the combat, and the environment just spruce up as time goes on. So that is one thing I noticed. And even if it ever releases and the environment still looks the same, like, I don't give a shit. As long as they have a ton of characters and the combat is fun, I'll be okay with it. But that is just something I wanted to talk about, because that is something I noticed in the Sparking Zero trailer. Now, what else we have in terms of JRPG announcements / trailers? I guess something that I'll touch on is the State of Play happened for PlayStation. It happened, I think, last week-ish now at this point. And they had like a bunch of trailers. I thought the State of Play was fantastic. It was like an A for me. Obviously, I wasn't into all the games, but I feel like there were like a lot of games that actually interested me. Usually, like when I watch like a showcase from a company, 0 games interest me, or maybe 1. In this, a few interested me, and I'll talk about a couple of them. One of them is Stellarblade. Stellarblade looks really freaking good. I'm gonna play the trailer for myself here just so I can have it as a reference. The Stellarblade looks really interesting. It looks a lot like Nier Automata, which I played maybe like 5-10 hours of. I fell off of Nier because it was kind of, at least the environment I was in was kind of bland looking. The combat was fun, but like I wasn't really into any of the characters. They were kind of like stoic and boring. But Nier Automata to me so far looks very interesting. The combat looks flashy. There's some colorful moments in the game. The character designs look cool. I like the art style too. It's not anime, but it's not realistic. It's like in between, which I really like. And like, I think this is a Korean studio, so it really looks like a newer style, which I personally haven't really seen in a game, which I'm really liking. The enemies look cool. They have like some like weird Dark Souls-y types enemies, which I'm not a fan of. I think I mentioned this like in a video in the past, but like I really hate the trend of like enemies just being like weird goobly messes of like guck that Dark Souls games tend to do. Not all of them obviously, but like a lot of them do. Where this game has some cool robot enemies too, which I noticed kind of like Horizon type vibes. And so I'm really digging this game. It looks a lot deeper than I thought. They show a lot of skill trees. They showed that you can go into towns and talk to people. That's really important to me. In the Trails games that I always like talk about positively, the main thing is you can talk to everyone in Trails games. Each of the people have like multiple lines of dialogue, and what they say is sometimes very important to what's happening in the story, so it's usually very relevant. And so the fact that you can talk to people in this game, it'd be cool if like that's somewhat similar too. So we'll see how it is, but so far I'm really liking the game. And like I mentioned before, like I'm probably not going to watch any more trailers for this game if they ever come out, because it is coming out soon. It's coming out like in April, I believe. And one of the things I also like in the trailer is the main character seems like a hella customizable, because I think like the main suit she wears like a skin tight suit and she has like a ponytail, but like you see her in different cutscenes wearing like more casual clothes, different suits. Her hair's done differently, which the hair thing is kind of blowing my mind because games usually don't let you touch that, especially when it's like flowing like that, like giving you different hairstyles. But the fact that they're letting you customize her so much, I think is pretty cool. So I'm really interested in this game, and hopefully it'll be good when it comes out. And lastly, the last thing I'll talk about in this segment is Zenless Zone Zero. Not much to talk about in this because the trailer that was shown in the State of Play was more I want to say like a cinematic trailer. It seemed like a gameplay trailer, but they just showed like finisher, so it kind of seems cinematic in that sense. But I think HoYoverse, I believe, is the developer. Let me look this up real quick. I guess it's HoYoverse. Yeah, okay, HoYoverse. I think they're doing like a great job with the games. Like for some reason, they have like this level of polish to the games that I don't know how they hit. Like every time I see like the games, it feels like it just has a sheen of polish. Their sound design is fantastic. Graphically, they look beautiful. I don't know why. They're just killing it in terms of the games. I used to play Genshin Impact a lot, then I fell off at a certain point. I played Honkai Star Rail for a bit, but even that game, like I loved it, seemed very polished. And Zenless Zone Zero looks very interesting because it's more like Genshin where it's a real-time fighting game, but I think it takes place in a more urban setting. And so I'm excited for the game. Like I mentioned, like I don't know too much about it. I first saw it in the initial trailer when they like first announced it. And in this trailer, they didn't show too much stuff that was new, but what I liked about the trailer, and I think it was a point of the trailer, it just reminded me about the game because I completely forgot that the game existed. And when they showed it off, I was like, oh, cool, yeah, this game still looks good. I'm gonna wait for it. I'm not gonna watch more trailers about it. But that's something I also want to mention about a new trailer that was in the state of play. And one thing I'll mention is if you're watching this on YouTube, if there's a trailer or some piece of news about JRPGs that you think is interesting and you want me to talk about, let me know down in the comments below. Maybe that could be a segment. Maybe in the future there could be a segment where I take like your guys' questions or like your guys' news and I can talk about it. We'll see how it goes. Again, I'm going to feel it out as we do the show. But if you guys have anything like that, leave it down in the comments below. I read every single comment and I try to reply to what I can. So I'd appreciate it if you have something like that and you leave it down below. So thank you very much. Now, the next segment is JRPGs that are releasing this week. So as of today, I'm recording on February 7th. So this week, from Sunday to Saturday, is February 4th to 10th. So I have a list. Let me pull it up real quick of the games that are releasing this week. Now, unfortunately, I might make a exception for this week, but again, I was going to record this episode last week, so I had different games I was going to talk about. So I think I'll talk about those games lightly and I'll talk about this week. So the games last week that were supposed to release and they did release was Grand Blue Fantasy Relink and Persona 3 Reload. Just quickly going through those. Grand Blue Fantasy looks very interesting. The combat looks cool. I played the demo for about 20 minutes. I like the combat. Unfortunately, I don't think the reviews are doing that good, but I don't know if the reviews are being fair too. I've seen a lot of people say like it's very confusing. They don't know what the story is. They don't know the characters. But I think this game is supposed to be like a game. It's not a first game. Like you're supposed to like either play the previous games or watch like the anime or something to understand. So like that's something like if I do play this game, I might do. So I'll see, because a lot of people have been saying the story is not that good, but they also say that they never played the previous games or watched the anime. So I can't really take that face value. But that is something that came out on February 1st. On February 2nd, Persona 3 Reload came out. Persona is a blind spot for me. I have tried playing Persona 5 a few years ago. I played for like 10-ish hours. I think I was like past the first dungeon and all that. And while this may anger some people, to me at the time it seemed like a watered down Trails game. So I was in the middle of playing Trails 3 at the time, and so every second I was playing Persona 5, I was like, I kind of want to play Trails, and then I went back to Trails 3 and finished that, and then finished Trails 4. And so I do want to give Persona a chance again at some point, and Persona 3 Reload may be that thing. Personally, I think I might play Persona 4 Golden. Literally the only reason being is because it's the cheapest to buy. I think it's like 25-ish bucks on PSN in Canada, and I've seen it on sale for like 13. So if it goes on sale again, I may just buy it and play that and see how I like it, because I don't want to play Persona 5 again, because I kind of still remember that the 10 hours I played already, and so like I don't want to go through that again. At 3 Reload is just gonna be kind of too expensive to get right now. I know it's on Game Pass, but I'd rather play it on PlayStation. And so I think 4 Golden may be the thing to play. And I've seen a lot of people say 4 Golden is their favorite, so that may be the move. But yeah, Persona 3 Reload came out on 2nd of February. And in terms of the games this week that are releasing between the days of February 4th and 10th is only one game, or at least one JRPG. And it's releasing on the 6th. Oh, it already released. It released yesterday. Okay, so I'm kind of late. But it is this week. It is Wolong Fallen Dynasty Complete Edition. Now, this game isn't new. It's just a complete edition. I've seen it. I believe I've already seen it on Steam and stuff, so I believe this isn't like a new release, but this was a game that I was kind of interested in checking out because there was a demo on Steam that was available. And I remember I was pretty interested in checking it out because it looked like a Souls type game. And I think I've said this enough times, but I'm not a fan of Souls games because they're too hard and I suck at games. But for some reason, I kind of still want to play them because I kind of want to play some of them. One of the ones that I'm kind of interested in right now is Liza P, because that actually looks interesting. I feel like most Souls games kind of feel very similar thematically, where Liza P looks different. The enemies look cool. Like, it apparently has a really cool story too, which the Souls games, I personally don't think they have great stories from the ones that I have played. And I've played very little, so like that doesn't really mean that much. So Wolong, I was kind of interested in because I'm into, obviously, Japanese games. This is a JRPG podcast, and Wolong seems to be taking place in some samurai looking era from what little I've seen. And so It's something that I'm interested in. I was going to play the demo when that came out, but I saw a lot of reviews saying that the game isn't good, which is unfortunate. And so I was getting a lot of low reviews. But I believe I've also seen a lot of people kind of turning around on it where like it's actually better now. I think that most of the issues were like performance related. So this may be something I may check out in the future. We'll see. It looks interesting. I have the trailer up for myself right now. And yeah, honestly, it looks pretty freaking interesting, especially now that it's a complete edition. It'll be pretty nice. So yeah, that is something that is released on 6th of February on the PS5, PS4, Xbox Series S, Xbox One, and PC. But yeah, that is all that's releasing this week. So now that we're done with that segment, let's move on to talking about a JRPG mechanic. So I want to have a segment which doesn't have to be so topical. Everything else I just talked about was like hella topical, so it'll be out of date in like a week. But I want to talk about JRPG mechanic. It could be anything I talk about. It could, not necessarily a mechanic. It can be JRPG related. It could be a trope. It could be a character. It could be anything about a JRPG that I just want to talk about. And I'll be honest, this one's kind of a cop-out because I literally did make a video on this. Not recently, but like I made a video about this topic already. So if you've seen that video, this may be a bit repetitive, so I'm sorry about that. But the mechanic that I want to talk about, specifically from the Trail series, is they have a retry but easier mechanic. And this, I cannot stress enough how much this mechanic means to me. It's just so nice. I mentioned this like before too, where like I have very limited time to play games. Like I already mentioned, I literally play games while I'm walking, burning off calories on my portal. Like I try to multitask that shit as much as possible. And because of that, if I play a game for an hour, 2 hours, and I make zero progression, there is a very strong chance, unless I spent a lot of money on the game, there's a very strong chance that I drop that game, that I'm not playing it again. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. And I personally, one of my philosophies with games, and like I know a lot of people won't agree with this, is one of my philosophies with games is if the game expects you to die in the game, like for example, if you're fighting a boss and like the only way to learn the pattern of the boss is to die in the game, I personally think that's bad game design. That's just me. I know not everyone will agree. That's just personally like, I feel like if a game is designed well, you should be able to get all the tells while you're playing. Like as an average person, you should be able to get all the tells of the boss and be able to defeat them in that first attempt. That's just me. And so what that ends up usually meaning is that I play games on easy, because that's kind of the only situation where that could happen, where you don't die in cheap ways. And so the retry but easier mechanic is a mechanic in the Trails games where if you do end up dying in any battle, so like say you're in a battle and you have to fight like 20 enemies and you go through it and you end up dying last second and you're like, fuck, like you're so close to beating it, and like you were doing the battle for a long time and like you had a strategy form and you honestly don't want to change the strategy, you just want to go to the battle again. And if you just retried, there may be a feeling of like, do I want to do this battle again? Like I'm like I'll have to change something, and you may be at the end of the night and you just want to beat the freaking battle. But retry but easier. It's not called that, by the way. That's just what I'm calling it. It's something. I think it's called like retry, and in brackets it says weaker enemies. But pretty much what it does is that when you retry, the game will be slightly easier. So things that you can see happen is if you go on the enemies, they'll have less HP. And it scales, obviously. So, for example, if there's like a boss you're fighting that's 20,000 HP, if you do it, it might have 18,000 HP this time. And especially if you just did an attempt and they had 500 HP left and you died, that could be the difference that you might beat them this time. And I'm not sure if they do anything else. I don't know if they like buff your damage. I don't know if they nerf their damage or something like that. I don't know if they do any more stats. All I know is from what I can see is that they definitely lessen their health. And even if that's the only thing they do, that'd be enough, because that is something that will help. And what I love, the main part of this feature that I love, is not a one-time thing. You can fucking repeatedly do it. So I've had battles that were like hella hard that I had to do this feature like 3-4 times before I was able to beat them. And one of the things that's really useful for, and I think I did this once, is at the end of the day, the people who make games are humans, and sometimes like I disagree with like how they design a battle. I remember in one of the Trails games, I think it was Trails 3 or one of the Trails games, they had like bosses that continuously heal themselves. Like that was literally a mechanic where they always healed, and that was fucking annoying. And I remember I was doing this battle where like the amount I damaged them was, I think, less. I think that whenever I damaged them, say I damaged them 100 in a round, they healed about 90 back. So the net damage I did was like 10. And so the battle was going so fucking slow where I'm like, I can't do this. And so that's an example of like, this game is designed bad. a boss shouldn't be like this. And I'm not gonna go back and grind. I don't grind in these games really. Like, I fight every enemy as I play the game, so I shouldn't really be expected to grind more. So what I did for that fight, and this is kind of like being skeezy about it, but I just killed myself. Like, I just like did an attack and let the bad guys kill me. And I did that like 5 times until I got to the point where the damage I was doing was a bit more fair. And it wasn't like that much more fair. It was like maybe I was doing like 100 damage and they were healing like 50 or something like that. Like, it was like I was doing more damage. It just felt more fair. The battle still took long, but like if they didn't have that retry but easier option, I would either just have to fucking go through that slog of that slow battle, or I guess I would just have to go and grind for a few hours, which doesn't sound fun. All I had to do was like spend 5 minutes killing myself, and then the battle was like slightly easier, then I beat it. Like, I think that's like a genius feature to have. So I think that was like super well done. That this is something they have like in the modern Trails games, and like I don't think they have it in the oldest games, but it's something that I see that they always have. And like, if every game could have this, I'd fucking love it. I know it won't ever happen because for some reason gamers like love to have challenges in games and like make sure that no one else can enjoy it. For people like me who are shit at games, so like it won't ever happen. But as someone who like wants to progress in a game every session I play and wants to make sure that like I get to a certain point, retry but easier is literally a lifesaver, and it kind of ensures that every time I play a battle, there is something different about it where I have more of a chance to beat it. So that is something I just like really appreciate. So that's the mechanic I want to talk about. Won't go much deeper into it because I already made a video on it. So like that is the thing you can watch if you want to. But yeah, that's the JRPG mechanic I want to talk about for this segment. And now we're going to end the podcast. We're pretty much getting to the end. There's one segment I want to do, and this is just going to be a closing segment. It's going to be like super short, but I want to do a JRPG top X, like a top 5, top 10 or whatever, where I just give you super quickly a top list of something JRPG related. I'm not going to go in depth. I'm just going to give you the list just to prompt you. If you have an opinion on this top list, you can either say my top list is shit, or, which I would rather prefer, is that you give me your top 5 or top 10, or maybe you just give me your top 1. Give me your favorite of what I'm going to talk about right now. So since this is the first episode of the JRPG podcast, I thought it would be hella fitting for my top list to be my top 3 JRPG series. Why did I do top 3? Because I don't play games that much, so it was very hard coming up with these 3 anyways. So again, this is going to be super short. I'm just going to give you my list. My number 3 is the East series. My number 2 is the Kingdom Hearts series. My number 1 is the Trails of series. If I had to be specific, probably Trails of Cold Steel. That's my top 3 series. If I want to just go a little bit into it, East series is like a real-time combat JRPG. They have a bunch of games. They have, I would say, 10 games right now, I believe, and it's cool because all of them have the same main character. It's Adol. They have like a cast of characters that you'll see kind of throughout the games. They'll reference the other games sometimes, but you can play any game. They're not actually like sequelized or anything. Like, you could like 10 is the newest one. You can play 10 and you'll be fine. 10 was cool where they actually did refer to the past games a bit more than usual, I feel like, but you can play 10, you'll be good. You can play 7, you'll be good. You can play 8. 8 is like the most popular one mainstream wise. I feel like blew up, which is cool. So if you want to try that, you can. But like the E series is like one of my favorites up there, and like, yeah, I recommend it. Number 2, obviously Kingdom Hearts. That's what this channel was originally based on, and so I don't know if I have to talk much more about this. I feel like Kingdom Hearts has the best combat in any single game, in my opinion. It just feels like perfect to me, especially Kingdom Hearts 2. I think the story writing is like master level. I know a lot of people like clowning on it, but I think the story is fantastic. Being able to make a long running series and have a story that connects well is really impressive. It gives me hella One Piece vibes, where that's also a story that's long and connects well to each other. So Kingdom Hearts is my number 2 series. And Kingdom Hearts used to be my number 1 series most of my life until I played the Trails games, where I played Trails in the Sky 1 and I liked it, but then I fell off. Then a few years later, I found out about Trails of Cold Steel, played that. I realized it was the same series of Trails in the Sky, and I ended up playing like a lot of them. And now at this point, I've played Trails in the Sky 1, 2, and 3. I've played Trails Azure. I played Trails Zero. I've played Trails of Cold Steel 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm in the middle of playing Trails Reverie, whatever it's called, Trails Into the Reverie or something like that, which is like their newest game in the West, at least. So I clearly love the Trails games. I've played literally all of it that's available. I just gotta beat Reverie, and so Trails is just like this is, you just, I can't imagine another game doing what Trails does. It's like the world building is second to none. No game, in my opinion, has the world building of Trails games, at least from the ones I played, obviously. Every NPC will talk about something in the story. The NPCs all have lives. Like, you can talk to a certain NPC for an entire game and you will know their life. You'll know their backstory. You'll know what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. It's just geniusly made. I know the continent of Zemuria that the games take place on. I know Liberal well, which is where the Trolls in the Sky takes place. I know the Empire well, Urbonia, where Cold Steel takes place, etc. It's just a masterclass in character, world building. The combat is turn-based, is really fun. I heard they're actually shifting to real-time combat in the future games, which maybe is more accessible to more of you, which is something that may entice you guys. So if you guys haven't tried a Trolls game, please try it. If you want to know where to jump in, you could jump into any of the first of the series. So you can do Trails in the Sky 1, which is, I think it's called Trails in the Sky First Chapter. That's on Steam. You can do Zero, Trails 0. I think it's called Trails from Zero. They literally just brought it to the West last year. That's on PlayStation and Switch and all that. Or the one I like the best is Trails of Cold Steel. You can play Trails of Cold Steel 1. I believe that's also on PSN, so you can play that too. So like, and I think it's on PC too. So you can like start with any of those. I think you'll be fine. Cold Steel is the most modern. Like the Sky and Zero are like PSP graphic games. So if you care about that, I would say move to Cold Steel. But all of them are like dated looking. I don't care about that, but they all do look like old games. So like, yeah, that's just the thing you'll have to deal with if you want to get into it. The newer Trolls games look good, but like, yeah, that's just how it is. And yeah, honorable mentions if I wanted to. Final Fantasy. The only reason I didn't put Final Fantasy in this list is because I don't think I have the right to put it in this list right now, because I haven't played enough of it. I've played Final Fantasy 14 a decent amount. I finished 7 Remake in the past. I finished 15 in the past. I've finished 16, which is the game that cemented me as a fan. I finished Crisis Core. That was the first game I played, but like, obviously there's Final Fantasy 9. There's like 1 to 6. There's like 10, 10 to 13 and all that. I want to get to those at some point. I know 10 and 10-2 is amazing. 1 to 6 is actually in my cart right now on PSN. It's on sale. I'm going to buy all 6 of them. I want to try them. I've heard 4 is really good, and I've heard that 4 is actually pretty similar to 16 in terms of storytelling. So I kind of want to start with 4. I don't know if that's smart to do, but I might do that. And so I definitely want to get into Final Fantasy, and I'm sure it'll be in my top list once I'm more into it. It's just that I didn't think it was fair putting it in my list right now because I haven't played that much of it, where every other series that I played like a lot of games in those series. And another small honorable mention, Pokemon. I think that's fun. I don't think it's like that good, like really in terms of like compared to these, but like it's a fun game. It's a fun like turn off your brain game. It's nostalgic because I used to play Leaf Green when I was a kid. I used to play Emerald when I was a kid, and so that is just a game I want to mention too. So Pokemon too. So yeah, my top 3 is East, Kingdom Hearts, and Trails. If you guys have any JRPGs you like, let me know. You don't have to give me a list if you want to. I'd love that. I read every comment. But if you have a favorite JRPG series, let me know down in the comments below. If you have reasons why, that'd be cool. If you disagree with my choices, let me know down in the comments below. I love talking to you guys in the comments. The KhUnlimited community, I think like when there are comments, I freaking love them, and I like replying to them as much as possible. So if you have anything to say about this episode, just say it. I'll read it, and hopefully I'll be down to discuss it too. So I think this will be the end of the first episode of Spill the Tearal, a JRPG podcast. Let me know like if you guys have any feedback on this episode. I know like it may seem more rambly than what you're used to, but like that's the point. That's what podcasts are, especially discussion podcasts, like the ones that aren't like, you know, produced super highly. Like I feel like it has to have a vibe of more discussion, and that's what I want. And like I said, unlike Shotlocked, like I cannot edit it like very tightly. Like if I do another episode of Shotlocked, I will do more episodes of Shotlocked. That is also gonna be more in the style where I'll just probably like just talk. And yeah, there'll only be cuts if I like fuck up, or like if I want to take a break and like do something, or if I'm like watching a trailer or something, I'll cut those parts out. But in terms of my actual discussions, everything will be kept in, because that is kind of the point of the medium of podcasts. So yeah, so that will be it for this episode of Spill the Tearal. And I don't think there's much more for me to say. Hopefully you guys will look forward to the next episode. Hopefully it will be next week. While you wait for that, check out the Final Fantasy VII Remake Let's Play series that I am doing on my YouTube channel, KhUnlimited. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.